Hello everyone. I welcome you all to this live webinar today. Uh, of late, ever since the lockdown, we are coming across some positive updates like the earth is healing because of the reduction of pollution in air. There is a visibility, and we can also see a cleaner river and water bodies. Yes, today's focus is on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on uh, pollution as well as the waste management. On the other side, there is also increased risk of handling biomedical waste, both liquid and solid. Today's webinar, we would be touching upon all those aspects. My name is Sudhir Gautam. I'm the Senior Assistant Editor and Bureau Head with Illets Technomedia Private Limited. Illets Technomedia is a 17 years old B2B media organization that closely works with the government at the city, district, state, national and international level. It brings out 4 publications, including eGov magazine that focuses on IT innovations and governance, eHealth magazine that focuses on healthcare system, BFSI that focuses on banking and finance, and digital learning that focuses on education. And today I am glad to introduce through this live webinar a very special guest who is the 2001 batch IS officer. With her exemplary leadership, she could solve several issues for the cause of public and for the betterment of citizens. At various capacities, she could exhibit and could bring a change and touching upon various lives. She was the district commissioner with Karimnagar and also the commissioner for Greater Warangal Municipal Corporation, which are both now the smart cities of the Telangana state. She was also the commissioner with Panchayat Raj and Rural Development. She was also the joint secretary with the tourism department of the state of Telangana. She also happens to hold several positions. Currently, she serves as the member secretary for Telangana State Pollution Control Board and commissioner for Commercial Tax Department, Government of Telangana, and also the vice chancellor for the Telangana University. Welcome, ma'am, to this live webinar, Neetuji.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
Thank you very much. Today's live interaction would have a webinar in the beginning, and later on we would join in a panel discussion. We are today joined by esteemed panelists from the industry and also academia. We are joined by Mr. Srinivas Chari. He is the director, and he heads a center of excellence in ASCII, which is the premier institute into the public policy and capacity building. Mr. Srinivas heads the Center of Excellence, which has been recognized by Government of India. He heads the urban governance, energy, environment, and sanitation. Welcome, Mr. Srinivas.
Thank you.
And we are also joined by yet another esteemed panelist who is the managing director and CEO with Ramki Group. They are the leaders in the waste management. Mr. M. Gautam Reddy, he's the managing director and CEO. He's also an environmental scientist. Before he has done masters in Nevada, United States. And Mr. Gautam is also, prior to working with, joining the Ramki Group, he was the research scientist with EPTRI, which is Environmental Protection Training and Research Institute with Government of Andhra Pradesh. Welcome, Mr. Gautam. So, ma'am, before we would start with your, Neetuji, we would start with your individual webinar in the beginning. So, before we get into the technicalities on the waste management, air pollution, and various other aspects, we would like to know about your studies, your career, and how could you get into the Indian Administrative Services? What inspired you?
I am actually native of Bihar, but now settled in Jharkhand. So from Ranchi, and my schooling was done in Hazaribagh. Then I went to Patna for my graduation. After graduation, I shifted to Delhi for preparation of civil services. First, I got selected in allied service. I was allotted the PNT finance service. Then afterwards, I got into IS. So I have held various positions in government, and presently I am working in commercial taxes department and PCB. I had some exposure of urban administration, municipal administration, rural administration, and tourism because of my working in various capacities. So we are now open to all your questions, answers, and my colleagues, senior scientists from PCB, Mr. Prasad and Mr. Narendra are also here. They will also
Yeah. Thank you very much, ma'am, for letting us know about your background. So before we further to the webinar, ma'am, how did this COVID pandemic affect?
Your voice is not clear.
We would like to know, ma'am, how did this corona pandemic has affected you? I mean, say, impacted you personally. How do you see this lockdown, this corona pandemic?
Personally, I would say it's not very happy time because I am feeling life is quite constricted, and we are not able to do normal, like going to outside, meeting friends, and work-wise also we are not able to deliver because I am from commercial taxes, so we are not getting taxes. Industries are not running. So personally also a lot of restriction, and after ages I have started working at home, washing dishes and then cleaning houses. So this is quite new exposure, new life, and maybe for some time it will become new normal. But personally I'm not very happy with COVID because a lot of fear and uncertainty, and basically feeling of helplessness where you find that you are not in control of situation. So that is a personal experience.
Across the country and across the globe. Ma'am, we have seen that ever since the lockdown, because there is no activity of the people or the citizens, we can see that the earth is healing. So we would like to know your organization, a monitoring body of the state. How is Hyderabad and Telangana healing ever since the COVID-19?
We have already mentioned a lot of negatives of COVID, but there are little bit positive also. One is like personally, people have now people are spending more time with families, and they are also more insightful. Life pace has been little bit slowed down. On the nature part, it's only positive because of industries not running and less vehicular traffic and other activities. Everything has slowed down. That has impacted positively on a lot of environmental parameters, be it air quality or our water quality, or in general the generation of solid waste management. So all these things have, I think, positively improved. Coming to solid waste management, from GHMC, we have got the data that number of trucks which used to transport solid waste to our treatment centers had drastically reduced, almost like 20-30% reduction is there. And that data shows in treatment plant that it's mostly domestic wastage, which is like less harmful. Wastage of domestic water, their also usage surprisingly has not got down, because I think everybody is at home, and then usage has actually increased more. It is not showing any decrease as per the data. But quality, again, because industrial waste is not coming, so it's more of less harmful side. Coming to industrial waste, of course, the decrease is there in quantity, wastewater, and we are getting less number of wastage in our common treatment plant. Same with hazardous effluent. We are having a common treatment plant for all industries, which is run by under the monitoring of PCB. There also we are experiencing almost 50% reduction because only pharmaceutical industries are running and other industries are almost under lockdown. So various components are showing that.
Okay, great, ma'am. So, since the corona, this particular crisis it's a contagious disease. What are the initiatives that Telangana State Pollution Control Board as a body is monitoring and implementing in terms of dealing with this biomedical waste?
Basically, Central Pollution Control Board and lot of international agencies have also brought studies that COVID patients fecal might go into sewage. So STPs, which are basically treating sewage water, they have to be quite careful about handling the wastewater, STP water. So we have given guidelines to urban bodies, then our waste treatment plants, then STPs, and they are following. They are using PPEs also. Workers at STPs, they are using PPEs. Then waste for wastewater also, because solid waste management, the handling of waste is to be done in very particular fashion. And for COVID quarantine centers, hospitals, biomedical waste, there is separate SOPs. Central Pollution Control Board has given the guidelines in the month of March, and we had conveyed it to all agencies which are actually dealing with COVID waste, by-waste medical wastage. We are having 11 organizations across Hyderabad and districts of Telangana, and they have been asked to basically train the workers. We had also from PCB, we had provided sanitizers and masks to all those workers who are working in central effluent treatment plant. Apart from that, urban bodies have been given the directions how to handle biomedical waste of COVID patients. Basically, it has to be a double layered beans, then trolleys have to be disinfected. So whole line of SOPs are there which are different from normal wastage. So we have given guidelines and instructed them to train workers also to deal with these type of wastage separately.
Okay,
and
great.
How much waste COVID quarantine centers waste are coming, how many centers are there, what is the quantity at our treatment plant, whether all the guidelines are followed or not, because we are regulatory body. So once we give the guidelines, we have to monitor, and our field staff are regularly visiting these centers to basically get the idea that whether these are in place or not.
Okay, great. Ma'am, how is the safety of the workers being looked after in the board, since they are closely working, they are the frontline corona warriors? How is their safety and how is their speed being upheld?
Frontline workers are in a lot more of danger because they are handling waste which can actually bring the infection to them. As I said, that PCB is monetary body. We are regulatory body. We are not the executive body. So from our side, we had conveyed the guidelines, and we are monitoring. Urban local bodies, basically municipality, GHMC, they are following the guidelines or not. Hospitals, they are very, very important. Then quarantine centers, all districts, either hospitals or a lot of like big universities or like whatever vacant spaces are there, they have been made into quarantine centers. So as per guidelines, all the quarantine centers, all the hospitals, they have to get registered. So we have made them registered, and we are having the entire list. From PCB side, we are monitoring that how much waste is generated and whether the entire waste is being lifted and treated properly or not. So that work is being done, and as per our report, 100% biomedical waste of COVID centers and quarantine centers are being treated properly as per the guidelines. Workers have also been given PPEs and masks, sanitizers. Entire care is being taken, and we have not got any report of any frontline workers getting infected because of handling waste.
Okay, great, ma'am. Ever since the corona pandemic, there is a kind of digital revolution. So, to what extent TSPCB is using the IT and the advanced technologies for its daily activities?
Per se, COVID, we have not devised any like specific app or IT related thing. But as I said, that we are into the business of regulating the waste management of which is also of COVID patients and quarantine centers. So we are having online management system of tracking the movement of the vehicles which are actually lifting the waste and then bringing them to the treatment center. So in that way, we know that this much waste is generated and it is all GPS related. It's online also. So we know which vehicle is coming at what time and when it is leaving and what is the quantity generated. So we actually match that how much is there at center and what is lifted, what is treated. So we match the quantity and in that way we come to know that actually entire waste is being treated. Then we are also having continuous online emission monitoring of the industry, which is also related to pollution. And we are having online tracking of biomedical waste carrying trucks as well as hazardous effluent of industry.
Okay, great.
This is like long, but now it is being useful in monitoring and tracking the COVID thing also.
So how do you see the significance of technology, ma'am, in this period?
It's very important because of like social distancing or lockdown, our people are not able to go to the field directly interacting with workers or health workers. So online monitoring is actually without any human interface. We are able to know that what is happening at the field and whether things are being followed properly or not.
Okay, great.
We get like, real-time monitoring basis of this.
Great, that's great. Ma'am, we would also, many of the Hyderabadis would like to know the present air pollution condition in the city and that across Telangana. If you would like to tell us.
There is happy news for Hyderabad. It has been like published in a lot of newspaper also. So mainly 12 parameters to know the air, ambient air quality. That is like nitrogen oxides, then carbon monoxides, ozone, and a lot of other emissions of like air pollution. In fact, in 12 main parameters, 10 parameters have decreased. There is like very 20 to 30% reduction of particles which are present in the air.
Yes.
But I don't think we are not getting any reduction, surprisingly, and like technical people are also not able to tell why ozone is not decreasing. I would like my colleague who is like working very hard in this field to also speak on this and give more technical inputs. I think it will be interesting for our
Sure.
So, Mr. Prasad.
Yeah, good afternoon, one and all. We are monitoring ambient air over the entire state. As Madam has already mentioned, it's good news that PM10 and PM2.5, it's about 25 to 30% reduction is there. And generally, if you see in terms of air quality index, we used to be in moderate to satisfactory to moderate. That means, I mean, if you categorize from 0 to 50 is good and 50 to 100 is satisfactory, and then 100 to 200 is moderate. Hyderabad typically ranges from satisfactory to moderate. And now presently Hyderabad is ranging from good to satisfactory. There is no case of moderate pollution at all. And in the rest of the Telangana, I mean, normally they are in the satisfactory range. Now they are reporting in good category. So that is with respect to air pollution. And as Madam and we were discussing about ozone, because there is a decrease in oxides of nitrogen. As we all know that there is no vehicular movement and industries are not in operation. Most of the industries are not in operation. So we presume that because ozone being a secondary pollutant, with the decrease in oxides of nitrogen, there should be a decrease in the ozone also. But then elsewhere in the country also, we have noticed that that there is an increase in the ozone concentrations in the first phase of total lockdown and in the initial phase of the second phase of lockdown. So for about 3 weeks, we have noticed that the ozone concentrations are increasing while the oxides of nitrogen are decreasing. So this is one thing which was a little bit surprising. Probably some of the panelists are there. Probably they can also throw some light on it in the
So we have Mr. Before we move on to the other panelists, ma'am, we would also like to know about the very well-known and landmark water body of our Telangana is Hussain Sagar tank bund. How better it is getting?
From PCB side, we are actually monitoring 100 lakes, including Hussain Sagar. And we are also monitoring, apart from lake, rivers, all main rivers, Musi, Manjira, Krishna, Godavari, then and happy news again, I want to share that except for Musi, we are not seeing much change. All other rivers have shown drastic improvement in water quality. Lakes, in 100 lakes, actually 50 lakes, we can see the improvement in dissolved oxygen. It has increased, and biological demand for oxygen has actually decreased, which is like scientific terms to know the water quality. Hussain Sagar also, BOD has decreased, oxygen level has increased. So, but in 50 lakes, there is not much improvement. In 100, so it is almost, we can say that 50% lakes are improving and 50% lakes are like static.
Now, that's quite a good news for Hyderabadis. But the question is, post COVID-19, how is it? Can we continue to have this good update? I mean to say the healing earth and purifying air and the cleaner water bodies. How is this going to be constant?
So we have been discussing, this is like long awaited actions at our level, from government side, from Hyderabad Metro Water, GHMs, like urban local body side, and from people side also. One is like whatever norm has now come, whatever behavioral changes have come in COVID time, social distancing or creating less pollution, not using many vehicles, so that has to continue. And from organization side, I think STPs are to be built. That is very much required. Otherwise, water quality will never be improved. So from Hyderabad Metro Water side, a lot of action is in pipeline. I think we can see a lot of good result in future. From Government of India, NGT side also, a lot of guidelines are there on these bodies, and in situ treatment is also one of the proposals which Hyderabad Metro Water is actively looking into. I think Mr. Chari will be able to tell you something. He is also in the think tank group of GHMC to improve the water.
Yes. So now we'll move on to Mr. Chari. He has been working with the government in various aspects, even in the smart cities of Telangana, if I'm not wrong, in Karimnagar and Warangal, and even with the municipal administration and urban development. You have been working. So can you tell us about the liquid waste management, the impact? What is the impact you see on this waste management system ever because of this COVID-19?
Thank you, Mr. Sudhir. I probably use 2 or 3 slides just to communicate. I'm not sure if it works well, but let me try. So just to set the context right for all of us. So is this slide deck visible for you?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So actually we are living in a little bit of world of uncertainty right now in the context of COVID. And the scientific knowledge is also evolving. It's not that we know everything, it's just evolving on a day-to-day basis. And this is also true with regard to the waste management. In fact, there are a lot of ifs and buts about waste management. Thankfully, Central Pollution Control Board and the state PCBs have clearly come up with guidelines, but there are still gray areas and uncertainties. So we need to be better to be on the, much more cautious way we need to deal with it. We should be erring on the right side rather than being complacent. So having said that, the waste, unlike in the past, the waste is coming from multiple sources with different degree of risks. We have red zones or containment zones, we have quarantine facilities, isolation homes and home quarantine situations, and of course the core healthcare facilities, laboratories and hospitals. The degree of risk associated with the waste coming from different sources would be very, very different. a household waste contaminated with COVID could also become a biomedical waste in this current situation. So I think given this, how do we deal with it? How do we strategize and how do we plan is something which we are discussing right now. Now the waste is not uniform. It's not just a solid waste, but we have within solid waste, biomedical waste and the domestic waste potentially contaminated with COVID-19. And of course we have liquid waste, both biomedical waste as well as sewage. There is evidence coming from global literature as well as within the country that the virus presence is noticed even in sewage. So how do we deal with it? Of course, in small traces. So how do we disinfect this liquid waste so that it will not become a community spread? Though the scientific knowledge is somewhat mixed right now. And of course, states like Telangana and almost 70% of urban India, they're on septic tank and the waste is coming out of the septic tank and the private desludgers are desludging the septic tank and dumping this waste in nalas and drains. It's not always sewerage system like in Hyderabad or Delhi and Bangalore, Chennai. So many parts of our towns, even city like Warangal, they are on septic tanks, 100% septic tanks. So how do we deal with it? Many gated communities, they have decentralized treatment systems without chlorination, without disinfection. They treat only the biological component and they use it for recycling. So there are risks associated with it. So given this context, I think we need to be a little more comprehensive. I think we should build a lot of redundancies. We need to actually go beyond the guidelines, in my view, to prevent community spread, because the knowledge is still evolving. Today's knowledge may not be relevant for, tomorrow, because we need to be risk averse in this current situation. So having said this, since you asked about liquid waste management, just like to quickly come up with some very practical suggestions from our understanding. There is evidence of COVID-19 in feces, particularly feces. When we flush, it goes into drains and nalas. There is certain amount of trace evidence coming from literature from Netherlands water boards, utilities, China, US, all of them. In fact, as recent as Chennai Water Board has started doing it. And they found that there is certain amount of presence of virus in the wastewater coming in the nalas and drains. So the issue is not about this only wastewater. In India, we have intermittent water supply. The water supply line and the wastewater line, they will be going parallel in many situations. There could be a cross-contamination of the water line, the wastewater into the drinking water source. So we need to be aware of this. Now, these are easily doable things. How do we protect ourselves? The second is that the effective inactivation of this virus is actually very short. So with a little bit of disinfection, we can actually deactivate this virus like many other viruses. So given this, the key is about disinfection. Now, CPCB as well as the CPHEO has issued, we work with them, they've issued a guidelines. Now in this time of crisis, all the water boards, be it Hyderabad, be it Chennai, be it corporations, they have to increase the residual chlorine from 0.2 milligrams per liter to 0.5 milligrams. It is actually as per the BIS standards for emergency situation. Number one, all over we need to step up our residual chlorine in the water to prevent any cross-contamination of sewage and the wastewater into the water supply line. That's number one. Number two, all our centralized or decentralized STPs, we should activate chlorination, we should activate disinfection. If you see many of our wastewater, decentralized wastewater in the gated communities, the chlorination component is actually defunct or they're not being used. So I think we need to quickly reactivate, because these gated communities, they recycle the water for gardening and other applications. There could be a potential child going there and sitting in the garden area. So please, I urge all of the gated communities as well as the regulatory agencies, we need to make sure that chlorination is carried out in all these facilities. Likewise, all the public toilets and community toilets, it's already happening in Telangana, but I think we need to really amplify this once the lockdown is over. Sodium hypochlorite is nothing but a very simple common term bleach. It's a liquid bleach. We need to disinfect our nalas, because if you go to small and medium towns, the insanitary toilets or even the septic tanks, they let out directly into the drains. So nalas have to be completely disinfected through sodium hypochlorite, very cheap, very easily accessible. Luckily, governments and the regulatory agencies, everybody have come together and made this material available right now. So there's no shortage right now. The sludge coming from the septic tanks necessarily should go to FSTPs. And if there are no fecal sludge treatment plants, it should be co-treated at the nearby STPs. Because this is super important. Otherwise, the sludge will be taken by the private operator. Slowly, they are coming out now, and they would be discarding in the open areas. So I again urge this material, this is sludge having 10,000 BOD with potential having virus, should be taken to FSTPs or co-treatment. A situation like Hyderabad, we have fantastic 18 STPs. They have to be going to STPs for co-treatment. The Water Board has already created co-treatment facilities right now. And I think this is what we need to be regulating. And of course, usage of personal protective equipment at every level is super important. Not only for the municipal solid waste, but as Madam said, Neetuji said, it should be used in STP operations, not only in the public, but also in the private. Not only the government employees, but also contractual laborers. Someone like Mr. Gautam, you know, they are very, very proactive in providing PPE, but there are a lot of informal workers working in this. So this is also one should be keeping into consideration. I think these are some of my initial thoughts. PPE should be brought in as a centrality to this whole waste management. We need to also look at insurance for sanitation. Right now, healthcare workers are insured, but sanitation workers are not insured. I think we should also, government should also consider making it a small group insurance for COVID is something we should be looking at. Thank you very much, Mr. Sudhir.
Thank you, Mr. Srinivas. That was quite a, it is kind of breaking thing I would consider, where there is a lot of threat that is posing actually. From, you also mentioned about the gated community, you also mentioned about the sewage that is coming out. So do you think we are prepared?
No, I mean, I must say no country is better prepared than India. And thanks to all the governments, I don't know how they managed to come together at a very short span of time. Of course, there's always scope for improvement, but I think they have done a fabulous job, and it's our responsibility to support the government in providing very practical solutions, not academic sort of conversations, but very practical suggestions in terms of how their work can be strengthened. For example, you know, we should issue a circular to all the gated communities. Please ensure that your facility should be chlorinated properly. So I think otherwise, these are small things. So we should support the government in strengthening this information, and also some SOPs can be developed and shared through the government to various sources. For example, increasing the residual chlorine is something which every water utility and municipality should do and could do. So I think that's what I think is a practical advice, and we should share with regulatory agencies as well as the PCB. In fact, another important thing which I've been pursuing is that the surveillance of the COVID presence in the community can be tracked by monitoring the sewage. In fact, the way the polio is tracked by WHO and ICMR, I think there is evidence coming from global communities that even before I show symptoms, the COVID presence is visible in the wastewater. So if I take up samples at different locations and try to correlate that, oh, this is where the COVID presence is there, this community could potentially be you know, releasing this wastewater. So I think I should be in a better surveillance system than only medical way of surveillance. I think we should do a combination of both. And this is the body of knowledge. Globally, it's evolving. I think we should start in the country. We've been writing to a number of regulatory agencies as well as ICMR about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wonderful. Thanks for that update, Mr. Srinivas. Mr. Gautam, coming to you, you have a rich experience in the waste management for last 21 years. And your organization is also known for integrated waste management system, be it biomedical, solid waste, and other waste management facilities. Am I audible, Mr. Gautam? Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. So you have you are
Yes,
closely.
I can hear you.
Yes. Yes. So thank you. So your organization is directly dealing with the waste management. Your organization has a work with Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, producing maybe more than 4,000 or 5,000 metric tons of waste. So how do you see the things have changed, and do you think there is a increased risk factor?
Firstly, thank you very much, Sudhir, for giving. Operating in 22 states in the country, handling about 25 municipalities, solid waste management. We're handling 20 biomedical waste management facilities. We're handling about 20 industrial hazardous waste sites, about 1 million tons of hazardous waste every year. I could tell you, COVID has created a situation globally. We can now call it a panic pandemic. It is panic, and it's a situation where there is a need to be panic. It's not that it's a small issue that can be easily withered out. Whatever precautions, whether the central government or state government in India are taking, some people may think are excessive, but I can tell you they're probably very much required. Because if in a country like India, this pandemic breaks beyond manageable situation, we do not have the hospital beds to manage. Our hospital bed strength is 1.5 million. This can't handle any level of pandemic breakdown unless if it is dragged for months together. And what we're probably doing is delaying and dragging the problem, and that may be an essential requirement of the current situation despite economic problem. And the level of problem is quite huge. The economic problem is extremely large. Everybody is going through severe commercial crisis. No business is not affected. Waste management or environment looks not susceptible to such kind of commercial things. I must tell you, in our industry, I have seen 20 to 25% reduction in municipal solid waste management. Why? Function halls are shared, multiplexes are shared, theaters are shared, restaurants are shared,
Yes.
commercial establishments are shared. Therefore, the entire waste quantity in a city like Hyderabad, which used to generate 6,500 tons, now they are generating hardly 4,000 to 4,500 tons. Every city, Delhi, Chennai, wherever we are doing, we are seeing 20 to 25% reduction in waste. Number one problem is how do we handle this waste? If you want to handle, you got to get these people on the ground. And I am engaging 20,000 people across India, Singapore, and Middle East. I can tell you, keeping people on the ground is a huge challenge. You have to motivate them, take care of them. You have to give them courage. At the same time, give them precautions to ensure they do not get socially exposed. Are they still not going to get exposed? The chances are they will. We can't completely rule out. With India having like 2 million sanitation workers working on the streets every day, how can you expect people not to get exposed? So how do we ensure that you create this right balance between panic and social responsibility to take this challenge and work is a huge thing. And today, my biggest respect across the world, across India, across the areas where we work is towards my workers who have taken the courage come onto the streets, pick up the municipal solid waste. Can we live with municipal solid waste in our house for 4 days? We will create another kind of contagion here. A new kind of virus will leave it for a week in our house. So there is an absolute need for us to encourage them and get them there, and they're doing a fantastic job. One challenge is municipal waste. Like every day at our entrance, we check their temperature. We give them a whole set of personal protective equipment, which includes gloves, masks, boots, glasses, everything that is required for them to take care. We ask them if they have any symptoms, and then only we put them on to work after giving a video presentation of how to maintain social distance, how to maintain social hygiene, how to use sanitizers, how to ensure every time they touch their face or before they touch their face, they got to wash their hands, and all of these kind of precautions are being trained. Despite this, I can tell you this is a bad virus. It's going to have its bad effects. That's one problem, which is municipal waste. Now, coming to hospital waste, I can tell you the problem is multiple compounding. Now here, for example, we are in Hyderabad. Waste is generated at Gandhi Hospital. Waste is generated at quarantine, which actually is a quarantine. We got used to calling it quarantine hospital. Now, waste is generated at these places and it needs to be taken care. This is coming from patients who are directly infected, who are proven that they have coronavirus. Now, how do we handle this waste? How do we ensure people go to pick it up? It's a big challenge. And I must tell you, we have trained people, we have put in policies. I know MOF has given guidelines, CPCB has given guidelines, Telangana Pollution Control Board is constantly guiding and advising. We are using full set of hazmat dress, just like every doctor is doing, to ensure that the waste picked up from COVID hospitals, which are proven COVID hospitals, are scientifically collected in double bags, not in single bags, carried in containers and destroyed instantly. We don't give them time, unlike 24 hours, which is given for rest of the medical waste. These medical waste which are coming from the current COVID hospitals are directly going into the incinerator. Now, the second set is a suspected COVID patient, which is the quarantine centers, containment zones. Now, containment zones are basically 100 houses, 150 houses which are contained, where there are more than 4 suspects. Now, what do you do with this? This is a suspected municipal and medical waste coming in combination along with gloves and masks. This waste also gets collected, picked up, transported, and disposed of immediately. And then there are quarantine centers. And then there are red zones. So I can tell you, the problem is getting compounded. Today, we are at the tip of the iceberg in the country. So I've been, whoever I meet, all my policy advisors, I've been telling that better to be more cautiously prepared. The amount of incinerators that we have in the country today, I can assure that if this number is going to reach 1 million, or if this is going to reach anywhere close to 500,000, and just for all of our idea, John Hopkins study says in India, the number of infections could go to 30 crore. That's the John Hopkins study. So if this number reaches anywhere close to 1 million, I can tell you any of our guidelines that are existing today will not be adequate, because incinerators will be out of capacity, cement kilns will be out of capacity. We will need to use landfilling, deep burial with disinfection systems like chlorine and sodium hypochlorite. And if we don't take these advanced preparations to keep some of these deep burial systems or sanitary landfill systems along with infection control measures, we may be up for some surprises. And I'm believing that we are not very far. So I wish and hope, I mean, and it's very, very happy situation to see that whatever measures Modi has taken, whatever measures our KCR has taken, have fantastically yielded results. If a country like India today is at 40,000 patients, if a state like Telangana is with like 1,000 patients, God bless us. I think extremely lucky. And I wish and hope that this doesn't spread, whether it is because of our early life vaccination, or because of our early life medication, or because of temperatures of our own immune resistant system. Whichever way it is, if this doesn't cross a particular level, we are blessed. If it does cross, we are a poor economy. We don't have infrastructure. We need to better be planned and better be prepared with measures, and all of us have to take care of many, many more people who are not as well deserving. We at Ramki, I can tell you today, we are handling at 20 cities a COVID infected waste directly. We are handling municipal solid waste at 25 cities. There are serious challenges, and the biggest respect for me today is for my workers who are actually coming and telling we feel accountable. And I'll tell you one of the most surprising and eye-tearing thing that has happened. 15 to 20 locations, the sanitary workers have found their best respect in life. People have come out and garlanded them. People have given them money. People have given them ration. People have given them aarti for coming out and doing a service at this kind of time. And I feel that they are doing a fantastic job to the society. So I wish and hope India will be safe and safe from this panic pandemic.
That's quite wonderful to hear that, Mr. Gautam. Our ground level sanitation workers are no less, they are the heroes besides the doctors and medical workers. They are, of course, they deserve that kudos and a lot of appreciation. As Mr. Srinivas said, they also would, the government should also come forward to give some sort of insurance for them. Ma'am, what do you think, any of three of you can answer, how fast this can happen, and which ministry and where can this proposal go that these sanitation workers can also have some security?
I think sanitation workers will come under labor department. It will be decided by labor laws. And I think there is the general insurance policies for labor. So we have to check up, but of course this suggestion I will put before the core committee who is handling the COVID, and also to
Okay.
municipal secretary, municipal administration.
Through both the chief ministers of Telangana and Andhra, we have requested them to take it to central government, just like healthcare workers, sanitary workers
Okay.
should also be protected under the insurance. In addition to this, I can tell you, ESI, where most of these workers are covered if they are in the formal sector, are covered through the employee state insurance. In addition to that, just to ensure COVID, this 14-day waiver don't happen, we are speaking to insurance companies to take additional insurance, both in terms of benefit policy, hospitalization policy, and term loan covers. These are additional covers, but the basic cover is ESI. But I tell you, if this really gets into an epidemic and a pandemic situation, Indian healthcare infrastructure cannot handle. You have insurance, but you don't have a hospital to take the patient. So we got to be preventive than trying to say nothing will happen, another flu has come, we will go. That doesn't look like to be the situation. So we got to be preventive because we don't have the infrastructure to handle it.
Yeah. So, Mr. Srinivas and Gautam, both of you have been handling this waste management system and giving guidance. So, do you think this has completely changed the waste management system? There would be a different waste management post COVID-19 era and increased cost?
I'm not sure if the cost or technologies will change substantially, but the conscience will change. People will start believing that I have to manage this more sanitarily, scientifically, and hygienically. So the importance and towards sanitation, the importance towards managing it well in a hygienic manner will go up. Surely, when your importance and hygiene level requirement goes up, certain level of cost might go up. May not be a significant factor.
Okay. Mr. Srinivas, your take on that?
No, I think I agree with Mr. Gautam. There is sense of appreciation for waste management at the household level because we have to deal with the waste, and then so there is greater probably segregation, greater domestic household composting may pick up. But however, I think what is important is to we need to use this and create a lot of behavior change communication to relate sanitation and disease burden. I think that relationship is still not very, very certain. It is still perceived as a medical problem, no doubt. But I think there is sanitation, suboptimal sanitation can also amplify this. I think we need to put in greater behavior change communication, greater information education communication about the poor sanitation and amplification of this community spread. I think some amount of work is required from the government to draw these correlations. Otherwise, we may tend to forget the seriousness of the problem. So I think some amount of additional work is needed.
Okay, great. So both Mr. Srinivas and Mr. Gautam, you can see a Q&A button there. Can you see that? Yeah. So we shall take some questions, and there is, if you can find that relevant, there is one from Dr. Deblina Bhattacharya. During COVID-19, there is a concoction of drug used for treating the patients, and the pharmaceutical residue is increasing the surface water as even after treatment they remain. What measures are taken for the treatment of this pharmaceutical wastewater? Either of you would like to answer? Mr. Gautam or Mr. Srinivas, would you like to take that question? First question.
Yeah.
I mean, if it is, yeah,
Sure.
Mr. Gautam, go ahead.
Sure. I think in Hyderabad we already have the effluent plants and the effluent generated by more industries, and Hyderabad being one of the largest pharmaceutical manufacturers, are able to handle the chemicals. Most of these chemicals and that are being tried globally are not new chemicals that are being invented. They are combinations of old chemicals only that are being tried. So it's not really a very significant difference from the effluent that was being generated earlier. And Patancheru effluent treatment plant and many of our other effluent treatment plants have the capacity, except if there is something in informal sector which is finding its way to other sources, our effluent treatment plants are capable of handling this.
Mr. Sudhir, just a quick response. So, on the issue of pharmaceutical waste, medical residue going into wastewaters and the treatment capacity, I mean, if you look at healthcare facilities, hospitals, nursing homes, majority of the wastewater will go to sewage treatment plants, not always to the effluent treatment plants. So given that our sewage treatment plants are basically doing biological, a little bit of disinfection, I think we are not designed for treating the pharmaceutical waste in a conventional STPs. So I think, however, given the risk that we are handling currently, I wouldn't really worry too much about traces of pharmaceutical waste or the medicinal waste going into the wastewater. So it's not a high risk situation because we are dealing with a much bigger risk of the virus spread. But yes, the STPs are not really technically designed for dealing with the nasty pharmaceutical waste. ETPs are, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the input, Mr. Srinivas. There is yet another question from Sharp Dendu Pathak. How are we going to streamline the COVID waste generated if the quantity generated is more than authorized quantity for an industry? Mr. Gautam, since you deal with the industrial waste also, would you?
I think this is a question PCB should answer. It's a question PCB should answer. But I'm clarity and process it is prepared, but PCB should answer this.
Mr. Prasad, would you like to answer this question? Can we have your phone unmuted, please? Yeah. So there is a question, Mr. Prasad, that how are we going to streamline the COVID waste generated if the quantity generated is more than the authorized quantity of an industry?
Basically, we have about 11 common biomedical waste treatment facilities in the state. So let us presume, as Gautam Reddy has said earlier, that if cases go out of proportion, we cannot really plan for a tsunami. Nobody will plan for a tsunami, okay? Because it costs a lot of money. And second thing is that we, taking the density of the population, we don't presume that the increase in waste will be uniform in all the districts and all the places. So in which case, what we can do is that we can use the other common biomedical waste treatment facilities which are less loaded. And if it is more than that, probably we will be using industrial incinerators, or we will be going off the incinerators. We have to go for secure landfill sort of things. So that is what deep burial, where it is being practiced in USA and other places also as of now.
Okay. There is one question from Mr. Harshal Desai, Mumbai, Maharashtra. He has to say, handling biomedical waste is of utmost importance at this moment. How are you monitoring biomedical waste management across the state?
Surprisingly, I want to tell you that the quantity of biomedical waste where we thought will actually go up, and I still believe it will go up substantially because of suspect COVID waste, today is half of what it is normal. Because 90% of the hospitals are actually not running. OPDs are shut, inpatient beds, except casualty and emergency, everything in the hospitals are shut. So the waste volumes have actually today come down. Our incinerators are running at half the capacity. So when the volumes get bigger, that's when this situation. So these are futuristic questions. But yeah, today they can be much better monitored and much better managed.
Okay, great. So now, yet another question is from Mr. Om Krishna. Mixing of waste in municipal area, is it the major problem for management? What are the sustainable solution for the same? Mr. Srinivas, or would you like to answer this?
Is it in the context of current situation or general mixed waste? I'm not very sure.
Okay, you can tell in the current context.
No, I think in the current context, I would be super cautious. I would rather, if you are in an isolation zone or a red category zone, COVID center, I would take everything into a yellow bag and then incinerate, rather than try to segregate the waste into domestic waste and non-domestic waste or a COVID waste and all. I think everything should go to yellow bag and then go straight to the common biomedical waste facility. So this is not the time for segregation and then trying to sort of bring the principles of reduce, reuse, recycle. I think we will do it once we open up the economy, once we streamline it. But at this point in time, in these specific areas that we are dealing with, we need to take everything into a yellow bag and then burn.
Okay. So there is one question from Rajasthan, Ajmer, by Mr. Karthik Sharma. I think this question is partly answered, but if you would like to answer, add some points to it. What has to be done to prevent contamination in sewage?
Disinfect. There's only one mantra: disinfect, disinfect, disinfect. And disinfection is pretty cheap in India. We need not go for ozonation. We need not go for a high-tech operation. We can still go for chlorination, which is proven and which is recommended by WHO and also recommended by SCMR. Sodium hypochlorite for other areas, liquid chlorine bleach. But wherever the STPs and other facilities are there, we can go for chlorination. So I think the solution at this point in time, though chlorine is not a fantastic material, it has its own side effects, but given the current situation, disinfection is a way forward using one of the acceptably available product.
Okay. I think the next question is for Neetu madam. There was an article in Telangana Today a few days back. The water quality of Hussain Sagar has improved due to lockdown. Do you think that we should bring in such practice into force where we can put certain things in lockdown for betterment of water bodies? By Mr. Ashutosh Pandey. Mr. Prasad, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, the water quality is improving. That is the statistics say. But one thing is there is some remediation activity which has commenced from 3rd March onwards by HMDA and GHMC in the Hussain Sagar. So that is one key. And second thing is now there is no commercial activity. So, and elsewhere in the world also, there is much higher usage of water because of the washing of the hands, because now there is more usage of the hand wash. So you are getting more diluted water from the sewage. That may be one of the reasons. And all the commercial activities and no industrial waste will come to Sagar or any other of the nearby places. But commercial activities have come down significantly. So probably that might be one of the reasons where we are getting lower BOD levels and increased TO levels.
Okay.
So post-lockdown, then how to maintain the same thing is certainly how we are going to regulate our activities or providing interception and diversion channels of the commercial waste. Now we are understanding what is the background concentrations now for the air or the water with restricted activities. So we really need to think that which sector is going to contribute how much of these loads, and then how we can regulate these activities so that there is minimal impact on the environment. So that is more important now for us.
Okay. Great. So there is one question Mr. Srinivas or Mr. Gautam could answer. What should be done for waste management in rural areas? By Mr. Nitish Kaushik.
Very good question. I think it's very important for many villages to have some solution. whether it is part medical waste or masks or municipal waste. If suppose in the future some of these do become infected or potentially suspected COVID waste, the most important thing is they don't have access to incinerators, they won't have access to landfills, they won't have access to a lot of sterilization materials. So what they should do is, first is keep it away from habitation, ensure that soil cover is put on it on a regular basis. Animals, especially buffaloes, cows, and these do not have access to this. Try to see if they can put some sodium hypochlorite on it or some calcium, lime, or other materials if they have access to some of those materials, and ensure if it is possible to keep it in a pit, maybe a quarry kind of a location or a low-lying location where it is easy to cover it with soil in a quick pace. So as soon as they dump it every day, they must cover it with a layer of soil. And if possible, before covering, spray some disinfectant material if it is in dry form or wet form, and then put soil cover. Most important, don't give it access to animals, and let people not handle it with exposed hands. Let people handle it with gloves, with proper mask when they are taking it to this dumping location.
Okay. Yeah. Of course, the rural areas also need some special focus. Most of the focus is in urban area. So there is yet another question by Gemini Chintakayala, and has to say, I'm a smart city solutions consultant. I have implemented many solutions like smart waste management, smart pole bin management, etc. Sincerely hope these solutions are helping government to get data from remote locations and help them for data analysis. How are these solutions helping in TS, Telangana? Ma'am, would you like to answer this? He's talking about the smart solution, smart waste management.
Sorry for going away for some time. I am in office, so some important work had come from Commercial Tax Department. As I said that we had not devised any particular app or IT related solution for COVID, but COVID is like part of the existing system only, like waste treatment or our effluent system, and there is online monitoring. So all smart governance, e-governance is quite helpful, and we are actually bringing more number of devices, more number of real-time monitoring, and bringing our system into technological gear. So I think we will certainly take this suggestion in our stride and try to make ourselves more technological savvy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Srinivas, would you like to take the next question? Is by Mr. Anil YC. Is the biggest takeaway from this lockdown, will it be more effective implementation of pollution norms? This is going to happen like in the post-COVID era?
Sure about the question, but yeah, I mean, there is a greater appreciation and greater regulatory oversight because in the context of what has happened. So I think, as I said, the memory often in India can be short. Once we have the vaccination, we may tend to slip back to the normalcy. So I think we need to really amplify the behavior change communication, like the way we did Swachh Bharat mission. It went for over a period of 5 years on a sustained basis at every level, at district collectors level, at a government level, at the national level. I think this is an opportunity where we need to have a sustained behavior communication, that this is not just a health issue. This is an issue of hygiene. It is an issue of sanitation. And of course, it is of course an issue of health. So I think we need to continue this campaign much beyond the next 3 years of lockdown, 3 months of lockdown or beyond. I think it's going to be more of a long term. It's an opportunity where we need to build the behavior change communication around this particular issue, because this message has gone across the length and breadth of the country, much beyond Swachh Bharat, I would say. So we need to piggyback our campaign on this issue and promote better environmental standards, better environmental regulations, and better behavior like people like me and every citizen.
Yeah, absolutely right. So since you talked about the Swachh Bharat mission, and of course, it also now the significance has increased. Besides, since you're also dealing with some of the smart cities, Mr. Srinivas, and Mr. Gautam is also working in some 20 cities. How do you see the significance of smart cities, the mission smart cities in this period of COVID pandemic? Significance of smart cities.
In fact, the Smart City Mission Joint Secretary has, and the team has brought out Mr. Kunal Kumar. They've been doing quite a bit of webinars. They are disseminating. They have also brought out a book on smart solutions in 100 smart cities. Of traction already by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and there's a lot of publication has been brought out. A lot of things can be done. I'm sure many of our startups, many of our young professionals, we have T-Hub here in Telangana. Many of them will come out with fantastic solutions, like the way we predict weather. I think we should be in a position to predict the COVID spread in the next couple of months. I'm very optimistic about it. The quality of prediction in India, weather forecasting has improved over time. I think there'll be a lot of technology solutions, a lot of analytics, which would help us to predict. So smart cities can take a lead because they have resources, they have bandwidth, they have city control centers. So I think they should be in a position to do much better job and protect the communities and predict the spread of the virus in the communities.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Srinivas. Talking about the smart solutions and smart cities, Madam, do we have a command and control center in TSPCB, or there are any plans if it is not?
We are having a central lab facility where like a lot of networking and then advanced monitoring tools are there. We are also having for monitoring the air quality, a lot of like important gadgets. So we do have a team which monitors the water quality. Regular testing facilities are there. Then we monitor air quality, and we also regularly monitor the all waste treatment facilities. We are having central hazardous waste facility, and we are having biomedical waste treatment facilities, and we are having general waste treatment facilities. So it all put together around 15 such centers are there, which we regular on monitoring basis through a specialized team.
Okay, great. So there is a question. I think it is already answered by Mr. Rahul Kumar. Sir, do we checking sewage water for contamination with COVID-19? What are the treatment plans? I think Mr. Srinivas has answered it already. And there is yet another question where there is no sewage treatment system or incineration. How to treat or handle the waste? By Susanta Sahu. Anyone would like to answer, Mr. Gautam or Mr. Srinivas? Where there is no facility like the waste management treatment plant or incineration facility. So what would be the option for people?
There are actually two options which have been suggested by Central Pollution Control Board and NGT also. In situ treatment, earlier I mentioned that wherever STPs are not constructed and there is a gap because it can't come immediately, it is a huge civil work. So there in situ treatment with organic elements can be taken up by cleaning the lakes and then bringing the toxic outside. And second is like intermediary interventions. So all these sewage, wherever the water is coming, basically to divert it through Nala to some STPs, like low cost STPs are also big planned, and not letting it mix with either river or bigger lakes. So that is intermediary interventions. Till the time all the STPs are in place, we can take.
Okay. Next, we have one question talking about by Mr. Rakhi Kulkarni. Some countries like China and US may likely relax the pollution norms for industries for the economy to get back. What is the view of regulatory authorities on something similar in India? Do we see more relaxation in terms of enforcement, or will it get tighter given the lessons learned in COVID?
There are two aspects of it. As Gautam Reddy Garu informed, that we have to be more vigilant. We have to be more cautious about handling bio-waste, medical, than other type of waste, even sewage also, because COVID virus presence is being many agencies have told that COVID virus presence can be in sewage water. So the enforcement has to be more stringent. We have to follow it very regularly, and the laws can be more regulated. That is one aspect. The other aspect is, all of us, we know the industries are facing a hard time because of lockdown, because of labor problem. So as government and as regulatory body also, we need to support industries at this very difficult time. From PCB already we are in support of the idea that industries have to be handled at this time, and we have taken 2-3 very progressive decisions basically to run the industries which are in dire need of our support in COVID time. Hyderabad is a pharma capital of India, and we are having a lot of pharmaceutical companies. From PCB side, we have decided that CFO that permission is not required for those industries which are into essential drugs making unit.
Okay.
And given the relaxation up to 15th July, that without CFO operation, they can go away with their as usual business practice, and they did not come to PCB for taking permission. That is one aspect. Second is, as per Government of India guidelines, bulk industries which are into the immediate or necessary drugs making, there if change of product is required, especially in the context of hydroxychloroquine making medicines, there we are giving them on first charge, like on priority their applications are being cleared. And third thing, because of lockdown, our CFO and CFE committees were not able to meet regularly. Generally, every week we had meetings of experts from various agencies, and they used to give permissions. Because of lockdown, we were not able to call, because industries representatives, everybody used to come. So we have decided that we should not stop this activity, and we have now gone ahead and given the notification that industries can apply online, and we will take the expert's opinion online through email, and we will clear it on priority basis. So these are some of the steps we are taking to make industries run their regular course, especially pharmaceutical industries, which are allowed to be operated during this time by the government.
Okay, great. There is quite a number of questions pouring in. I think Mr. Srinivas has answered some in the chat box. In the Q&A, we still have some questions. If it is fine, can we take these questions, Mr. Gautam, Mr. Srinivas, Madam? There are 3-4 questions. Would you like to take them?
I mean, there are a lot of repetitive questions, so we can take all also. But if there are any burning questions, we could probably.
Okay. We have in Q&A section, we have like last 4 questions. Okay, there are some repetitions, of course. There is one question from. Okay, one last question we can take from this question is from Dehradun by Mr. Nitesh Kaushik. All rural water supply schemes has filtration unit and chlorinator, but generally not working. What can be done in the current situation? It's regarding water.
Boil it. Boil the water.
Okay.
Household level.
What would be the role of this filter RO system, Mr. Srinivas, in this time?
I mean, I'm not I can't speak with great confidence whether the ability of these filters to deal with the virus. So I'm not an authority on that. However, I would, if I am there, I would go with a word of caution, and I would go for boiling.
Okay, great. So with this, if there are more questions, we can mail it to you later offline. So with this, we would come to the end of this online interaction and panel discussion. Ma'am, we have known for quite some time. You have been seeing a work in this COVID situation. We have embarked upon this rigorous campaign of bringing the policymakers, experts. It has impacted almost every sector. So we have been on this rigorous campaign organized more than 100 plus webinars, online interaction, and panel discussion. So you have also been part of our World Education Summit Hyderabad and earlier. So your impression and your comments.
First of all, I would like to congratulate you and your team for taking up these type of exercise in terms of in the time of COVID, when nobody is able to come out, and still you are going ahead. Life goes on. It can't be stopped. So these are basically new ways of living the life, and bringing also the scenario where like more number of conferences, more number of meetings can happen online. We are getting out a lot of new tools also. So you are using Zoom. Before that, I never heard about Zoom. So now a lot of house parties or Zoom or other type of tools are come. So this is again technological invention. And on the part of PCB, I really congratulate you to bring Srinivas Chadi Garu, Gautam Garu, and PCB officials, me. So we have also learned a lot of new things. And certainly this episode will give PCB some insight to bring more technological advancement and some improvement in the system.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Mr. Srinivas, your inputs, your comments.
Thank you. Just, this is an opportunity to interact with the practitioners like Neetuji and Mr. Gautam. So that's number one. But I think equally important is the number of questions that have come in the chat box and the Q&A. It keeps us active because many questions even we don't know. This is an opportunity for us to learn, go back and then do a little bit of interaction globally, nationally, and come up with some sensible responses to this and then disseminate. So I think to that extent, I would say your facilitation of this initiative is super useful and it's very, very timely and important. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Srinivas. And Mr. Gautam, you and your organization has been part of our summit along with the Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, National Waste Management Summit and Urban Development Summit. So your comments?
So firstly, I must say it's a good initiative in a difficult environment. At least people get a chance to speak to Pollution Control Board and understand if there are some short-term solutions to the problem. Great initiative, well done, and hope we can do many more. Hope we can do physically there and continue in this way.
Hoping so.
I want to thank my workers and all the participants. They're doing a fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of appreciation to the workers online, sanitation workers and those who are on the front line combating these corona warriors. A lot of kudos to them. And I thank each and every participants, those in who have actively participated, showing questions and in the Q&A section and also in the chat box from across the country. And also those who have been, there are many questions in Facebook also. But since the interest of time, we would like to thank each and every one. This has gone Facebook Live. Since the experts have given their views and the government has also given their views, I would request each and every participant to share as much as possible so that this information can reach to the maximum. And with this, I would like to thank all my key speakers and panelists, esteemed panelists, and also the participants. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.